The process of democratic consolidation is also supported by Ghana's stable two-party system with ideologically distinguishable parties. The two major parties belong to different political traditions. The NPP is associated with a conservative and economically liberal orientation, while the NDC is linked to social democracy. This represents a significant difference compared to many other African countries, as these positions lead to contrasting political approaches, especially in economic and social policy. The NPP primarily focuses on economic growth and its expected trickle-down effects throughout society, whereas the NDC emphasizes the need for state intervention to balance economic growth and social justice. However, it has become increasingly problematic that the gap between the two parties has narrowed considerably in recent years. The NPP did not readily accept this defeat in the 2012 elections and alleged electoral fraud. The growing polarization between the two parties appears to pose an increasingly serious threat to the country's political stability. This is especially relevant because the NPP is primarily rooted in the Ashanti region, while the NDC is strongly connected to the Iwe region in eastern Ghana. The Swedish political scientist Staffan Allenberg empirically demonstrated that elections in Ghana are no longer purely ethnic censuses, as up to 30% of swing voters make their decisions based on policy and economic considerations. It should also be noted that political parties strive to maintain good relations with traditional authorities, the chiefs. Even today, public trust in traditional structures remains very strong in Ghana. Empirical evidence shows that around 90% of the rural population and approximately 75% of the urban population rely on traditional networks in their daily life. Political parties therefore attempt to mobilize voters through the chiefs, even though the Constitution prohibits chiefs from engaging directly in party politics. In this context, the economically significant influence of chiefs over land use decisions must also be mentioned. However, violent conflicts, particularly in northern Ghana, have occurred, including one in 1994 that resulted in around 1,000 deaths, driven in part by ethnic rivalries over land ownership and chieftaincy positions. Today, Ghana is an increasingly consolidated democracy with a functioning multi-party system. Although many typical weaknesses of young democracies remain, in particular, there are still deficits regarding the effectiveness and independence of democratic constitutional institutions. Compared to other African states, Ghana is among the most advanced democracies alongside Mauritius and Botswana, and is currently considered the most stable country in the region. Ghana is frequently described as a model country for West Africa and the African continent as a whole. This assessment is based on its successful democratization process, internationally recognized good governance, freedom of the press, freedom of speech and assembly, exemplary implementation of the African peer review mechanism, and decades of reform-oriented policies. Compared with many other countries, Ghana stands out for its internal stability and high degree of liberalism. Nevertheless, Ghana's developments can only be transferred to other African states to a limited extent. Ghana